In this video, we're going to show you how to build an xMap from scratch. We begin by clicking on New Experience Map, and a pop-up box will prompt us to add a title. We can also add a description if we wish, and then click Save. The shell of our xMap is now created. Of course, there's no data in it, so let's start entering some information. We'll start by going into the upper left corner where it says Tag Toolbox. Right next to it is a pencil icon. Click on that and a pop-up box will appear called the Tag Toolbox Editor. Now what we want to do is start adding what we call tag groups. So these are large groups of information. Let's start by entering a tag group called Timeline, and we'll add another one called Learning Modality. And you can simply click Enter or OK. And now that you've seen a couple of them being added, we'll add the rest here. So now that I've added all the tag groups, let's go ahead and enter tags within each group. We do that by clicking on the arrow next to the name of the tag group, and the expanded box will show where you can add a tag. Just click in that field and give names to the tags within that group. Now I'm hitting the Tab key as I enter information to go to the next field. You can also click on the plus sign right next to the field to advance to the next one. I just find it easier to use the Tab key. Now that we've created our tags for our timeline tag group, I'll go ahead and enter the other tags for the remaining groups, and we'll see a completed example. So I've completed adding the tags to all of our tag groups. So I've expanded everything just so you can see a completed example. You can see we now have tags for learning modality, facilitator, business unit, and location in our example. Now we can go ahead and edit any of these fields at any time. All we have to do is click in that field and rename. Same thing with the tags. If we want to change things, simply click on the field and make the change. Clicking out of the field automatically saves it. You'll also notice we're able to delete a tag group. When we click that, a pop-up box will appear to confirm we want to delete it. In this example, we're just going to back out. So now that we've finished adding the tag groups and tags, let's go ahead and close the editor and go back to our map. You can see on the left-hand side in the tag toolbox we now have all of our tag groups listed. And also clicking the arrow next to the name will show you all of the individual tags associated with that group. You'll also notice that the timeline view appears here on our xMap. The xMap will show the first tag group that you've entered by default. So in our case, we entered timeline first. So anytime you open up your map, it will default to the timeline view. So now that we have the larger pieces of information set up in our xMap, we want to go ahead and start entering activities, which are the smallest components of information we want to manage. In our example, that is going to be lesson topics. So let's go ahead and start with day 1. We add an activity by clicking on the plus sign. A pop-up box will appear, and just as with the Tag Toolbox Editor, we just simply enter a title and click Save. Let's add another activity and save it, and it will add it in the order that you've entered it. Now that you've watched me add a couple of activities, I'll go ahead and finish entering the remaining activities. And here's what our xMap looks like now that we've entered all of our activities. Now let's take a look at the detail within each activity. We do that by simply clicking on the activity name, and you can see that right now the only information we have associated with any individual activity is the timeline group. So by adding that activity under a specific day, it automatically associates each day with that activity. We can associate additional tags with our activities by coming over to our tag toolbox, expanding a tag group, and dragging the appropriate tag over on top of the activity. And we can do that whether the activity is expanded or whether it is closed. If we drag it over top of a closed activity, it will automatically open to show that that association has been made. So let's go ahead and do a couple of different ones. And we would go ahead and do that with every single tag group as it makes sense. You don't have to use every tag group with every activity, but as you feel it's necessary. Now I'll go ahead and add the remaining tags for each one of our activities. And here we have our xMap with all the activities and their associated tags. To view the tags associated with an activity, simply click on the activity name to expand it to see the associated tags. To collapse it, click on the name again. When using your xMap, you'll always have complete flexibility over your activities and their associated tags. For example, let's take the Welcome Introductions activity and change the location. We simply click on the location tag, drag it over to the tag toolbox, and release. And that tag will no longer be associated with that activity. To add one, simply expand one of the tag groups and drag the tag over the corresponding activity. Now our welcome and introductions will be occurring at the event center instead of the main training room. Not only do you have complete control over the tags within an activity, you're also able to move the activities between stacks as needed. Let's go ahead and close these open activities so we can see the example more clearly. Let's say we wanted to move the networking game on day 1 to day 2. All we have to do is simply click and drag to the appropriate location, whether we want it end of day, early in the morning, and release. That activity is now in the day 2 stack, and if you open that activity, you will see that xMap has automatically updated the timeline tag to day 2. When an activity is open, you will notice 3 icons at the top of the activity. The first one in the upper left is delete, the next one is duplicate, and the pencil icon is view or edit an activity. So let's go ahead and try each one of these, starting with delete. By clicking on the delete icon, you'll be prompted to confirm you want to delete this activity. The activity will be deleted along with all of its associated tags for that activity. The next one is duplicate. By clicking on that, it will create a duplicate of that specific activity and place it below the original. The duplicate will have the same name with copy at the end of it, and as you can see, it has all the same associated tags. Now this will be useful if you have a repetitive event, say a team lunch every day or a working session or a practice session of some kind, and you don't want to have to enter all the associated tags each single time. You can create the copy, simply drag and drop and rename it. For now, let's go ahead and delete our copy. And we'll take a look at the third icon in the activity called View or Edit Activity. Once inside the activity editor, you can edit the title, add a description, enter the duration estimate of that particular activity, include an effort estimate in terms of development. There is also an area to add content or notes for that particular activity. Additionally, you can add attachments. Simply click Select and go to the file location to attach the file for this particular activity. You and others who have access to your xMap can also add comments to the activity. This is a useful way to track ideas, clarifications, and key decisions. Simply click on the Add Comment box, type in your comment, and click Save. Once you're done with the comment, you can simply click Delete. After all your changes have been made within a specific activity, click Save Changes and you'll be returned to your xMap. I've gone ahead and entered duration and development effort estimates for each activity so you can see how that information is displayed on your xMap. If you look at each stack, you'll now see that there is a total duration and development effort for each stack. As an example, for day 1, the duration is 8.75 hours. This is the sum of all the individual durations of each activity in day 1. The same holds for the effort. There's 252 total development hours, and that is the sum of all the individual activities. Thank you for watching. To view more xMap how-to videos, please go to xmapit.com.